battle droids on Naboo. As the Separatist rebellion rages through the galaxy, even peaceful planets are threatened. Following the discovery of Separatist droids wandering the grassy wasteland, Naboo is once again on high alert. Fearing their home is facing another invasion, Senator Amidala and Representative Binks race to Naboo to assess the situation. Meanwhile, near the Gungan swamplands, an even graver threat is about to be discovered.
Oh! Greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tigar. Welcome to the 42nd virus hunting episode of Mando Vision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is via social media. We are at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please make sure you are liking, subscribing, and sharing the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. Share it amongst your family members, enemies, loved ones, hated ones, blood feud rivals, pets, all of it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you are so inclined, please give us those sweet 5-star reviews. They are so critically important to helping small independent shows like us stand out, not get lost in the shuffle, in the complete deluge of content in this world we live in. And hey, we think we're making a pretty darn good show over here, so the more people checking it out, the better for all involved. Alright, we are back for another action-packed episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars. We are racing towards the finale of Season 1. It is within sight at this point. Like, we are right there on the edge, on the precipice of finishing Season 1 of the show. And, I've been thinking about things, and I think what we're going to do moving forward, and as we wrap up Season 1, I think we're going to be doing Season 2 concurrently with the Bad Batch. Do you think that might be confusing? If, like, on Mondays, we drop an episode of the Season 2 review, and then on Fridays, we do our Bad Batch episodes. Will that work okay, you think? Or should we wait and do that after the Bad Batch? Let me know what you think. This is your show as much as it is mine. So if you'd rather wait till we get to Season 2 after the Bad Batch, we can easily accommodate all those listening desires. Otherwise, we could go that route. I'm having fun doing the 2 shows a week. It's working out pretty nicely. The one of the biggest benefits of reviewing Star Wars: The Clone Wars in this format is that it's a very digestible show. It's 22, 24, 20 minutes long, something like that. Right in that wheelhouse of 20-ish minutes of show. And, maybe I'll change my mind as we start getting into more complex episodes. But, reviewing them has been I don't want to say it's easy by any means, but it's not been the Herculean challenge that I thought it would be. So I'm really enjoying going through these, and hopefully you all are enjoying that as well. Let's go ahead, think about what I just said, get back to me on that. You know how to do so at Mando_Vision, Twitter and Instagram. Let me know what kind of format you're interested in moving forward. Should we just focus on the Bad Batch and dissecting those episodes and kind of slow down the Season 2 stuff? Or do you want me to kind of trickle those in there? It's up to you. All right, let's get into this week's show, or today's episode in particular. Season 1, Episode 17, Blue Shadow Virus. Originally aired February 13th, 2009. Now, of note, I believe originally they aired this as an hour-long special, because I believe the air date for our next show is the same, and I sort of vaguely remember it being this Star Wars the Clone Wars special when it originally dropped back in 2009. So you're gonna hear 2 dates. They're 2 of the same dates, and that would be by design. by design. All right, this week's episode, again, we said the title, The Blue Shadow Virus. Let's go ahead and give you the plot for this week's episode. Evil scientist Dr. Nuvo Vindi is recreating the dreaded Blue Shadow virus in his secret underground lab on Naboo. When he captures Senator Amidala and Jar Jar Binks, Anakin and Obi-Wan mount a rescue operation. There it is. It's pretty straightforward. This episode is it's based off a script by Jen Klein, written by Craig Titley, Henry Gilroy, and Scott Murphy were also contributing writers on the episode. It is directed by Giancarlo Volpe, or is it Volpe? I say Volpe, but I don't know. There's no accent there. I could be dead wrong about that. This week's episode, our main cast this episode. As I knock the microphone over, professional podcast. And you wonder why Spotify hasn't offered me $10 million yet to come and do the show there. This week's episode, our main cast members: Catherine Tabor back as Padme Amidala, Matt Lanter as Anakin Skywalker, James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano, B.J. Hughes returns as Jar Jar Binks, for better or worse. Michael York plays Dr. Nuvo Vindi. James Mathis III is Captain Typho. D. Bradley Baker as the Clone Troopers and Captain Rex. Anthony Daniels returns as C-3PO. Gwendolyn Yo as Peppy Bow. And we will talk about Peppy Bow. Phil Lamar, the great Phil Lamar, as the tactical droid. Tom Kane as Yoda and our narrator. Matthew Wood is back at the battle droids. Jamila McMillan becomes Queen Nayun... No, I said it wrong. Nayuntni. Queen Nayuntni of Naboo. And David Accord is the voice of the Rabbit Droid. I always like that Rabbit Droid. It's such a silly design. Sort of like the round bulbous body, particularly at the bottom, and like those little tiny legs it's on. I've always enjoyed the silliness of the Rabbit Droid. But that is our cast for this week's episode. And now it's time to talk about it proper. And we can only do that once your bucket is in place. So here it is. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
We came as soon as we could, my lady. Have you found any more droids?
Only the 3. But you can be sure they aren't tourists. I need you to convince the Senate or the Jedi Council or whoever is in charge of this terrible war that we are threatened.
They'll need more proof. Finding a couple of battle droids will not be enough.
Captain Typho, the battle droid is ready for analysis.
All right, so the Blue Shadow virus. I don't know what to say about this episode. It's not my favorite. I feel like this two-parter it's one of those episodes. It's if you remember watching back on Star Trek: The Next Generation in particular, and even a little bit into DS9, you always kind of had like these clunker episodes right before the big stuff came, and that's sort of what this episode and next episode sort of feel like, is like these sort of clunkers before the big stuff gets here. And after this two-parter, we get into like some Ryloth stuff. And I remember the Ryloth episodes being particularly good and sort of a turning point for the show as a whole. This episode and the next week's episode, they just sort of feel like placeholders in a sense. If there's one thing to take away from this episode that I thought was interesting, was sort of like a lot of the callbacks to episode 1, to the Phantom Menace, with Amidala's returning to Theed, which is the capital city of Naboo. And assuring this queen that the Senate will do nothing without more evidence. A couple battle droids mean nothing. She had an entire, blockade on her planet, and the Senate did nothing. But of course, we all know that was due to the corruption of the Senate and the will of Sheev Palpatine. The big old Sheev dropping his Sheeviness, even though he was just an ambassador, just a senator at that point. Not an ambassador, he was a senator. I take that back. Misspoke. What else do I have to say about this one? We see Captain Typho again. That's just interesting. And I don't know. We go back to the hangar bay in Theed, like we saw from episode 1. Again, a lot of the callbacks are really neat. It's I sort of wonder what the overarching plan of the Separatists is at this point. It seems like putting a bioweapons laboratory on Naboo is kind of calling a bit of attention to yourself. Is it just the sheer arrogance of the Separatists? Is this the Chancellor of the Trade Federation trying to lash out at Padme again for the perceived wrongs that she has committed against him? It seems like Darth Sidious, as the mastermind of this, would just be like, if you really wanted this shadow virus, this blue shadow virus, to be an effective weapon against the forces of the Republic, you might put it in a world that didn't have like one of the primary movers and shakers of the Republic, that they call home. They would be heavily invested in finding this virus. Now, granted, they don't know what's going on with the virus. These droids have just been spotted. That's the only indication that something's going on. I still find it something to think about. Let's before we get let's kind of get into the episode proper here. Let's give our Jedi fortune cookie. Fear is the disease. Hope is its only cure. Again, the clunkerish nature of these two episodes remind me that our Jedi fortune cookies are not very good in these next two episodes. Heavy reliance on hope and sort of silliness. Fear. I guess fear is a disease in a lot of senses. I don't know if hope is a cure. Usually a shot in the arm would be a cure. But maybe that's just because the world we live in right now dictates that a shot in the arm might be the best way to alleviate the fear of a disease that is currently sweeping the globe. Maybe I'm become jaded by a reality for this particular episode of the show. All right, so as our opening scene, our transition scene set up, they have recovered a tactical droid's head. And they're going to try and get the information from this head so they can figure out what the Separatists are doing here on Naboo. This scene is, it's interesting. It's a droid autopsy. It's C-3PO attempting to mislead a droid into revealing information, tactical information that will help the security forces of Naboo figure out the plot of the Separatist forces here. And it is... Listen, the interrogation of the tactical droid is interesting. There is a bit of a misspeak in here at one point where C-3PO talks about the droid's medical heroics. So the rumor is that at some point in the script, it was a medical droid that was captured and not a tactical droid. So Anthony Daniels was given those lines of "Speak to us of your medical heroics," and in actuality, they changed it to a tactical droid. So C-3PO has a bit of a misstep because of a late changing of the script, as it were. This scene, I like this scene, but it's offset by the sheer buffoonery of Jar Jar Binks, which is, again, I want to be in Jar Jar's corner, but then you get into like these episodes like this one where he should be paying attention. He should be more central to what's going on with Amidala and the people of Naboo. It's his planet as well. But instead he goes to chase after a tasty bug that he recognizes from a specific region of the planet. Now, that comes in handy as they figure out after his buffoonery and his bungling basically terminates the droid that has the information before the droid can spill the beans on what's going on and where this lab is that he refers to. But Jar Jar, knowing that this bug comes from a specific part of the planet, points them in the right direction. So they get where they're going regardless of his, I'm just going to say bungled buffoonery. We'll go back to buffoonery. His buffoonery doesn't end up costing them in the long run. Is that scene beneficial to kids? Do they like it when his tongue gets stuck in the gears of an Astromech's dome and the dome becomes on top of Jar Jar's dome? I didn't care for it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of touch with that. It was so distracting, and I don't know. I guess I wanted more from Jar Jar than kind of reverting to like the simple, I'm hungry all the time, so I make bad things happen. I'm in your corner, Jar Jar, but sometimes you make it really, really hard. It is at this point that Padme makes a communication to the Jedi Council, addressing Jedi Master Yoda, and makes a request for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin to come out to aid in discovering the Separatist plot and looking for this lab. Now, her reasoning is to have Obi-Wan come out because there are tensions between the Naboo and the Gungans right now. And Obi-Wan is very much trusted by the Gungans, I would assume, based on the events of Episode 1. So that's kind of like the rationale to get Anakin out there. So it's at this point we kind of have to wonder, as an audience, what do the Jedi believe is going on here? Obviously, it should be obvious to any member of the Jedi Order, not just the Council, that Anakin and Amidala spend an awful lot of time together, whether inadvertently through the course of the war, or at these moments when Padme makes a request of this nature, and I don't know. I think as the show goes on, we will get to sort of explore, like, what do they really know, or do they have any idea what's going on? Like, are the Jedi this blind to what's going on beneath them? Are they so distracted and so consumed by the war that they can't see what's going on before them? And you would think that Obi-Wan might have a little bit, every now and then you get like a look from Kenobi that would seem to sort of indicate that he is aware of something, the bond between them and the connection between them at the very, very least. And that's going to be something we talk about more about in season 2. Once we get to Mandalore and to Duchess Satine, we will talk about the sort of similarities in their journeys as Jedi Knights between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and again the role of attachment and forsaking that attachment for the benefit of the Jedi Order, and we're gonna get there. But this is an episode that kind of causes me to kind of pause, because, like I said, I think this episode is clunky, and again, it's one of those things where if I was Yoda, I'd be like, do you really need, anyone that can talk to the Gungans? Let's come on. Whatever. Maybe I'm just fired up about it. I don't know. I don't know for sure. Let me get to the crux of why I really don't like this episode that much. We have talked about it before in earlier episodes where it has happened before. Padme captured once again by enemy forces. I've sort of had enough of that trope here in season 1. It's ridiculous. I've had enough of it. She ends up getting tortured later in the scene, and it's just Star Wars is better than that. Star Wars is better than capturing its female characters for its male characters to rescue. Now, I'm not trying to imply that is directly what's happening here, that it's a statement of masculinity versus femininity. That's not what I'm getting at. It just seems like in some of these placeholder episodes that's the trope they go to, is that Padme needs rescued by Anakin, and that's how we're going to get them to spend time with each other. There are so many better ways to do that. I think that now. I get it. There's some limitations due to the constrictive nature of a 22 to 24 minute episode of TV, but you have worn this out at this point. Like, this is what, like, the 4th, 5th time she's been captured this season. If she was an actress, if obviously Catherine Tabor is an actress, but if this was a real life, a live action series, the female lead would be like, I would imagine she'd be pretty annoyed at this point. Like, I'm captured again, for the love of God. So that's sort of like the big crux of this episode's problems for me. And now we have not met Dr. Nuvo Vindi, but oh boy, what a caricature he is. And I didn't care for that very much either. So that's kind of where my head is at on a lot of this episode. I have a problem with Padme's capture. Jar Jar's bungling is one thing, and the sort of, and I recognize exactly what I'm saying when I say this, but the cartoonish nature of Dr. Nuvo Vindi as this, like, sort of mad evil scientist who, for reasons unknown, just wants to recreate this deadly virus. And we sort of get into, like, we don't really explore his motivations for this to any great detail, we don't really get a full explanation of what the blue shadow virus was when it was apparently a plague that swept the galaxy X amount of years ago. We just know that it's real bad, and that the galaxy united to eradicate it, and now this guy's trying to bring it back. Do we need to know more about it? No, probably not. But it would be a more interesting episode to get a little bit of the background, a little bit of Vindy's motives for bringing it back, other than that he's just kind of kooky. And again, they give you very basic reasons why he wants to do these things. Very basic. I'm looking for a little bit more of a fully formed explanation, a little bit more fully formed rationale for why this is the way he thinks this way. And you don't get that, and that's sad. That's sad. Like I said, this episode just feels very placeholder until we get to the big 3-part Ryloth epic. That'll be sort of the crowning achievement of season 1 of the show. It's at this point we find out that due to the testing that's going on, the water supply has been poisoned. We are introduced to our female Gungan, Peppy Bow. She offers to guide Padme and Jar Jar, who have gone to explore the edges of the Naboo, what do they call it? The grasslands, and then towards the swamps. Peppy Bow is like some kind of a Gungan nerf herder person. I forget. I know they're not nerfs, but you know what I mean. Those big giant creatures that Anakin and Padme ride on in Attack of the Clones. She seems to be a shepherd of them. And again, I guess I should mention too, it's at this point that the battle droids capture Padme again, and we meet our ridiculous bioweapon scientist, Nuvo Vindy. And let's go ahead and play a clip of Nuvo Vindy right now.
Who are you? Why are you holding us?
Wonderful specimens. What's a life form like you doing in a swamp like this?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Thanks to the support of my compassionate friends in the Separatist Alliance, I am creating life.
Also, you're creating life.
I'm so pleased you inquired. A demonstration is in order. Allow me to present the return of the infamous Blue Shadow virus.
The Blue Shadow virus? I thought that deadly disease was extinct.
Yes, it was wiped from the galaxy generations ago, but I have given it life once again.
You're not creating life. You're taking life. You're poison the Gungan water.
Yes. Unfortunately, the Blue Shadow virus in its natural form thrives only in water.
Okay, I've had enough of that. I can't handle it. I generally enjoy Michael York as an actor, but like this is just cartoonish and over the top silliness that I don't know. It doesn't resonate for me. Does it resonate for you? Does it take away the seriousness of what is happening here? And maybe that's another part of the episode that I guess I just don't care for, is sort of they don't really address the elephant in the room here. They don't talk about bioweapons production and its use in warfare. It's just kind of accepted as, yes, it's bad, but we move on from there, and yeah, that's sort of it. It's a shame. It's a shame they don't do a little bit more with talking about some of these big headier topics. But we find out in that scene, as if I were to let it have finished playing out, that Vindy is taking the Blue Shadow virus and he is changing it and making it an airborne virus so that it will be highly contagious, highly lethal, and will wreak havoc wherever it shall go. Now let's go ahead and cut to Anakin and Obi-Wan arriving, and Anakin having just a purely emotional reaction to everything that's going on. And oh boy, it's something else.
General Kenobi, Anakin, We're so glad.
Where's Senator Amidala?
She went to look for the lab.
And you let her go?
Senator Padme
Rude.
can be very hard to stop once she has made up her mind.
Good point. I know what you mean.
This is Peppy Bao. She was the last person to see them. Padme sent her here to safety.
They're looking for the sick maker.
They?
Representative Binks was with her.
Go with the Gungan, see if you can find them.
You've got it, Master.
Why didn't you send someone to look for them?
Considering the latest developments, we thought it was best to wait for you.
What latest developments?
We did a robo-lobotomy on the battle droids and came up with this piece of memory.
Who is that?
All right, this is where they get to learn about Dr. Vindy's presence here. Again, Anakin's highly emotional reaction on the forefront. Obi-Wan just, oh, that's Anakin being Anakin. And it's like, there's a lot of things in this episode that brush up against me. I'm trying not to be a negative Nelly about it. On the plus side, I sort of liked meeting a Gungan that is smart and capable, like Peppy Bao. I think that is a wonderful contrast to what we often get with the silliness of Jar Jar Binks, particularly in these last couple of episodes. And I feel bad for the voice actor taking on this role. I think it's I gotta look it up again. But we talked about how Ahmed Best took a break from being Jar Jar at this point, and they had B.J. Hughes come on board, and I feel like BJ's just got the worst job in the world at this point because Jar Jar's got nothing good going on, and it's just this sort of silliness of the character just kind of takes over, and it bums me out. It really does. I want to be in Jar Jar's corner. I don't subscribe to the fun internet theories about how Jar Jar's a secret Sith Lord, but I mean, you could. The argument can and has been made that not the most helpful of beings in the Star Wars galaxy at this point. But it's at this point we get Ahsoka and Peppy setting out. They go out and they find the lab. Basically, they're gonna cause some trouble. That will allow. They're basically gonna cause a diversion. That's gonna allow Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Rex and the clones to drop into the base and infiltrate. And they do that, and Ahsoka gets to have a really cool scene where she uses the Force to activate a thermal detonator, and we get a really cool battle in like these circular hallways of the laboratory. I thought that was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that. All right, so eventually everyone gets to infiltrate the base. They close in on Dr. Vindy. Dr. Vindy, this is when Dr. Vindy tortures Padme and Jar Jar, thus giving the hero's dilemma. Save your friends or stop the doctor. Well, Anakin, of course, chooses to save Padme and Jar Jar by coincidence, and Dr. Vindy makes his escape. At this point, Cody and Obi-Wan are racing to find the bombs to make sure they don't go off. They're trying to prevent Naboo from being swept up by the Blue Shadow virus. Let's go ahead and play a little bit of this sequence here. We are towards this about right around the 17-minute mark. I'm sorry, closer to the 18-minute mark of the episode. So I'm going to let it play here, and you can kind of hear. Again, when the action gets going, this is a perfectly fine episode, and it makes up for some of the shortcomings in the again, kind of like sort of chopped up, maybe not chopped up, but just clunkiness of the episode. So here's Obi-Wan and Cody entering the bomb room.
Well, looks like the bomb room.
Yes, and luckily they appear inactive.
Vindy activates the bombs.
I spoke too soon. Get these deactivated now. Anakin, I'm guessing you didn't capture the doctor.
I'm working on it. Do you have the bombs?
I'm working on it. Dr. Vindy has remotely activated the bombs. They're counting down.
That's great.
And on top of that, one of them seems to be missing.
It's down here somewhere.
Ahsoka.
We've got another situation. Send all the clones to search the facility.
We've got a
Master?
We've got a missing bomb and a trigger-happy mad doctor on the loose.
Missing bomb? I saw Dr. Vindy give a little droid a bomb.
You guys split up. Find that droid.
You heard him. Let's move.
All right, so now we got Ahsoka and some clones. They're going to try and track down the rabbit droid, but of course, Padme and Jar Jar are going to be the ones who find the rabbit droid because they're in this episode and they need something to do at this point. You also get to go into this plant room, which we see a little bit more of in the next episode. But I think they don't say it overtly, but obviously these plants are probably part of the reason why Vindy was able to recreate the Blue Shadow virus. But again, it's one of these things in the episode where, a little bit more context could have been helpful to kind of fleshing out the plot and giving a little bit more detail and information on what's going on here. We're not made aware of the relevance of these plants. I think we're just supposed to sort of infer it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with making an inference here based off of our observations. That's not necessarily the critique. I just think it's another example of how so much of this episode is a little undercooked, a little underdeveloped, and it makes for a less than 100% enjoyable viewing experience when you're kind of bumping up against some of these little things like that. I'm going to fast forward here to sort of the end of the episode here, where because we get a big fight again. They track down Vindy. He's making his escape. He's raising up on this platform. He's throwing vials of the Blue Shadow virus off the platform, and Obi-Wan makes an awesome backwards fall off the platform to catch the vials in midair. The same thing goes on when he gets to the deck. He throws another one, and Anakin has to go get it. And that opens up the door for Peppy Bow to save the day. Anakin makes the catch. Peppy on top of Dr. Vindy, throttling him.
Yes! The bomb's going off, and we're all going to die! Die! Oops. What happened?
Deactivated. Plenty of time to spare.
Lenia.
Ahsoka, are you there?
I'm here, Master. The bomb has been deactivated. Did you find Vindy?
Deactivated as well. Have you seen Padme?
She's right next to me. I'm okay too. Thanks for asking.
And as if that wasn't going to be great enough, there's a second part right after it. Am I way off base? Do you all think that I am out of line on some of the things that I've mentioned here with this episode? There's just things in this one that bump up against me that kind of rub me the wrong way. When they brush up against me, there's no sparks of electricity. There's sparks of anger that lead to the dark side, that lead to hate and all that good stuff. And I don't hate the episode. It just has this sort of feel of we have this really great Ryloth 3-parter coming up, but we need to fill some space in the season. We got this 21 episode season order from Cartoon Network. We need 2 more shows. What can we do? We'll take this very basic plot of a bioweapon and stretch it out into 2 episodes, but never really address the wrongness of bioweapons. And now, granted, we will get there. There are plenty of bioweapons in seasons to come of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's just an undercooked one, in my opinion. I don't really have anything else to say about this episode. It's fine. You can watch it. It's not completely intolerable. For me, it rates like a 5.5, and I mostly give it that because I liked the action in it so much. I liked the that circular hallway battle. I thought was a lot of fun. The clone stuff's always great, so I don't have any qualms about that. And I think I give a 0.5 also to Peppy Bow, helping redeem the Gungans in a sense. We see a female Gungan, which I also think is significant. We didn't really talk about that too much. We first talked about her a little bit, but we see a very capable female Gungan, which is great. And again, such a weird contrast to Padme, who we know is this supremely capable character, but she has spent the majority of her appearances in season 1 just being captured. And that's very, very annoying and very, very frustrating, because we know Padme is better than that. And we can blame Jar Jar all we want. It's not always his fault that she's getting captured. It is the fault of poor well, I shouldn't say poor writing, but not well thought out writing in some instances. And that is a shame because a couple of these writers, particularly Henry Gilroy, whose work I am quite familiar with, I know is better than that. But that's okay. That's okay. You can't blame everything for everything. There were even directives here that we didn't understand, that we are not aware of. That's okay. Let's just move on with our lives. Again, I'm rating this one a little harshly, 5.5. The battle stuff is neat. It's not a completely vexing episode, but there's enough in here to cause me to bump up against it, and for that, it gets dinged heavily in our ratings. All right, let's wrap up this episode of the show. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please keep in mind what we talked about earlier on the show about, should I continue doing one episode of season 2 on Mondays, and then Fridays saving those for Bad Batch, or should we focus exclusively on Bad Batch content until that season is done? And then we'll go back into doing season 2 episodes. And they'll probably be twice a week as well. Again, I am enjoying the twice a week. We're kind of getting to crank through some episodes faster than initially planned, and I like that a lot more for the show, especially since we're doing shorter shows right now. This is not like when we did the Mandalorian breakdowns, and we were doing minimum hour-long podcasts. This is a much different beast at this point, and if I'm going to do a half an hour, 35-minute show, I can definitely do 2 of those a week to keep providing the entertainment that hopefully you all have come to expect from me. So keep that in mind. And remember, the best way to let me know what you think, reach out on social media. Make sure you're giving us a follow on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Mando_Vision. Again, Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show. Long-form thoughts are totally welcome in the email box, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, and sharing the show on all your favorite platforms. We are on so many. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, RadioFM.com, something, Pandora. We got the Audible. We got the Amazon Music. The number of networks we are on is continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much that more and more people are checking out the show and seem to be digging what we're doing over here. It's just a fun little independent Star Wars podcast, and I'm so appreciative of the people who take the time to listen, and even more appreciative of the people who take the time to reach out with feedback and comment. I'm talking to you, rural farmer boy. I'm talking to you. So thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode. If you're on Apple Podcasts, remember 5-star reviews are insanely helpful. Writing a review for a podcast is a great way to support a podcast. Help spread the word. Make sure your friends, family, and loved ones know about the show. Make sure your enemies, your rivals, people you're in blood feuds and death matches with like the show as well. Because, hey, we got to grow. We got to grow. We got to grow. We are a small independent Star Wars podcast. We're not going anywhere. We're here for the long haul. You're stuck with me until I'm dead. I'm going to die on this microphone. Much as my wife wishes that wasn't the case, I'm going to die on this microphone doing a Star Wars podcast. I have foreseen it. Palpatine has foreseen it. So buckle up those helmets. Just keep them on. Just keep them on. We'll be back next week. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember, there's only one way to end the podcast, and this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.